A taxi surcharge, which was supposed to take effect on January 1st, has been temporarily blocked by a New York State Supreme Court judge. Governor Cuomo pushed the plan, which creates a surcharge for all cabs and for hire vehicles like Uber and Lyft for everybody who crosses below 96th Street. Now, drivers sued to block the charge, and a hearing on the plan is scheduled for later today. A spokesperson for Governor Cuomo has issued a statement about the plan saying, quote, "This law, which was approved by the legislature, will generate hundreds of millions of dollars to improve the subway, and we will vigorously defend it to help ensure New Yorkers have a safe, reliable transportation system." And the mayor's office also put out a statement saying, quote, "We support the fee passed by Albany to help reduce congestion and get New Yorkers moving." Now, joining me now in studio to talk about the controversial plan is Taxi Medallion owner Carolyn Protz. And, you know, we've been talking about this for a lot leading up to today's hearing. Tell me why this is such a burden for Taxi Medallion owners, if you could explain it to us.
Well, in light of all the recent events going back, actually not so recent, about 7 years, and all the destruction that's occurred in this industry, we feel that this surcharge, which some are calling the suicide surcharge, will push the industry over the edge into oblivion. But I think first we need to talk a little bit about what is congestion and where did it come from. You just have to go out into the street and you see what the problem is. I had a problem getting here this morning at 6 o'clock. The traffic was so bad on 10th Avenue. The cars, the extra for-hire vehicles, didn't just drop out of the sky. They're the result of failed government policies. The Medallion system, which the yellow cabs belong to, had a growth control and still has a growth control mechanism. The numbers of cars are limited. To put even 5 extra cars on the road, an entire environmental congestion pollution study has to be done, and it was determined by the government that this was the correct number. They thought they needed more cars. They could have added more cars, which would have benefited New York City tremendously. New York City threw away $2 billion. They have medallions on the shelf that they can't auction because of all the destruction. I don't think New York City's in a position to throw away $2 billion. So anyway, that's how we wound up with an additional 80,000 for-hire vehicles on the road. There's work for around 50 to 60,000 vehicles, not 130,000 vehicles.
So get to the, what is at stake for drivers who are on the road, for taxi drivers?
Less business. The last time there was a fare increase, I think it was about 17%, which is about what the $250 additional charge will amount to. And there was a drop-off in business. But the drivers got the extra income from the fare increase. In this case, there will be a drop-off in business. Charles Komanoff, I think, predicted at least a 6 or 7% decline. But the drivers will not gain any of this $250. The $250 will also preclude any future raise for the foreseeable future, and the drivers haven't had a raise in 6 years.
And let's break down the numbers for our viewers, the numbers and the cost of the plan for drivers who will drive below 96th Street. So yellow taxis will be charged the $250 that you mentioned. For higher vehicles like Uber and Lyft, they'll be charged $275. And again, what will this do for business for all of you?
Well, it probably won't affect rich people taking cabs, or for that matter, driving into the city once they pass congestion surcharges for passenger cars. Although I should know that there are less passenger cars coming into the city now than there have ever been. The problem with the congestion is the black cars. That's the problem. Everything else is just a symptom.
So why do you think that yellow cabs should be exempt from this fee?
Well, we've already paid to be in the business. We're shareholders in a city franchise, and as a matter of fact, the governor referred to the yellow taxi business as a franchise. And he said last April, and I quote, "You can't have it both ways. You can't say that I charged $1 million for Medallion and I sold a franchise to work in the city, and now I have an unlimited number of Ubers that have the same franchise and paid nothing." That's what Governor Cuomo said just a few months ago. Essentially, the city gave away the franchise.
Okay,
so we feel we've already paid.
And you talked about it being referred to as a suicide surcharge. I know this has placed a lot of stress on a lot of drivers. If you could touch on that.
Well, there have been 8 suicides, unfortunately. And when you live with this kind of an uncertainty, people get sick. Sometimes they kill themselves. I know people who've had heart attacks and strokes. It's not a good situation. The city tried, to its credit, and they passed a cap back in August. And thank you, Ruben Diaz Sr., chairman of the FHV committee. He's the only one who was able to do that successfully.
Let me get this in here. You know, the other side of this is the fact that people say they want to see improved technology in cabs. They've seen, you know, prices go up. What's your response to that? What is the solution to eliminating or help reduce the congestion in the city?
Which prices have gone up?
Well, just in general, they're saying that, you know, people are concerned that with the black cars and with the cabs, sometimes there's surge pricing with the black cars. What's the solution when people have all of these options?
Well, the Taxi and Limousine Commission has always had the power to regulate prices in black cars, livery cars, and yellow and green cabs. So they can do whatever they want. They can make them cheap, they can make them expensive, they can make them have surcharges. I mean, that is up to the Taxi and Limousine Commission. But getting back to the FHV committee and Chairman Diaz, he passed a cap, but the cap is only as good as the implementation by the Taxi and Limousine Commission. And you should know that there's 10,000 more cars on the road now than there were in the middle of the summer. So de facto, there is no cap. I expect another 10,000 maybe on the road by next summer when they're going to start debating about whether they should lift the cap.
All right, Carolyn Protz, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your time, and we will see what the outcome
Thanks
of the
for having
hearing
me.
is today. All right, thank you.